Hello, everybody. It's Scott Bunce again. And I got to tell you today, I'm excited to have Gordon Ho, who is my LinkedIn guru. And not only is he my LinkedIn guru, I was so impressed with his first presentation with one of my Vistage groups. I invited him back to another group for another home run of a presentation. Gordon, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Scott.
I took some notes from the presentation, and I got three things that I wanted to go over and have you share with the people today. And they are this: what is the approach to a great LinkedIn profile? That's number one. Number two, what is a strategy to maximize LinkedIn? And then number three, you tie it all together, and what is the consistency to leverage LinkedIn in term. Sound good, Gordon?
That sounds great. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
So let's dive right in. Point number one, approach to your LinkedIn profile. What approach should people take?
Yes. Well, just about every business person will have some sort of LinkedIn presence. And I think there's about 1.3 billion LinkedIn accounts that are out there.
Mm.
So I like to call it the noise. And the challenge here is how do you stand out above the noise? It all has to do with your approach. It's making sure that your network consists of your ideal client profile, your prospects, your clients, your referral partners, people who are champions of you. So, one of the first basic things that I share with folks strategy wise is be very selective who you add to your network. If you have a hodgepodge of random people that don't uh, help your brand out on LinkedIn, it doesn't move the needle on LinkedIn. So one of the keys is the approach. Be very selective in who you have in your network. And I'd say the second part of that is when you're setting up your LinkedIn, just some basic common sense things is realize that people are going to come check out your LinkedIn profile before they do an action. And a lot of people have set up their LinkedIn to look kind of digital resume-ish. Okay, that's fine. But here's an opportunity where you could literally talk to your audience who's checking out for the first time. So try to predict what questions they may be asking you when they're checking you out. Typically, it's who is this person? What does this person do? And what is the benefit of me being connected with this person? And I would say if you can answer those three on your LinkedIn profile, you're head and shoulders ahead of the rest that are out there. And that's a pretty easy best practices approach that anybody can apply right out of the gate.
Well, it's funny you say that because I mistakenly thought that I was fairly good at LinkedIn before I saw your first presentation. And I remember taking note after note of, oh my gosh, I'm missing the boat and I'm too generic and I'm not speaking to my audience. And just like you said, it was a download of a resume as opposed to talking to and communicating with an audience. So great stuff right out of the gate. I appreciate that, Gordon.
Yeah.
So the second thing was, what is a strategy to maximize LinkedIn?
Yeah. So this is a little bit more thought. Um, and I always go back to your ideal folks that you want to be connected with. A lot of people have different reasons to be connected with folks. But for the most part, it's about relationship building, it's about nurturing, and it's brand awareness, really, of who you are. How do you rise above the noise that's out there on LinkedIn? So, the strategy, in my opinion, is, as I mentioned, you got to be selective on who you should have in your network. Then you should update your LinkedIn profile to resonate to that particular network of folks. And then from there, there needs to be consistency of your strategy. And what I mean by that is there's an opportunity to brand yourself. Oftentimes, people who are on LinkedIn, they're busy professionals. Scott, you're busy. And I know that when you're probably jumping on a LinkedIn, you're quickly glancing at someone to just confirm who they are. Okay. And once you spend that 3 or 4 seconds, you're moving on to the next task. Well, if we understand that, the consistency part I'm talking about is I believe people should put out some social posts to create brand awareness of who they are. And LinkedIn is a very, very easy platform to create that brand awareness. Now, you got to be careful. Obviously, you don't want to put out politics or religion in your posts. This is where people are coming to do business, right? And they're looking for a trusted resource out there. So I always suggest think about your target audience and remember the what's in it for them. What are they interested in learning about? What are the challenges that they have that you can solve for them? And it doesn't have to be a long, uh, written out article. It needs to be headlines where you quickly punch them in the face with it, where they quickly go, hey, that applies to me. This person is one of us, and he's got something interesting to say. If we could build on that consistency out there, that's going to create the brand awareness of you. I think the mistake that a lot of people make on LinkedIn is maybe they try to sell too much.
Mm,
And for the most part, people are turned off if you're trying to sell them on LinkedIn. And if you're kind of guilty of that, I can say this, give your audience the permission to buy when they're ready. You just have to provide them enough brand awareness of what it is that you do for them to come back to you. And that, in my opinion, is probably a safe strategy to keep you top of mind and to be in good standing with those who might need you down the road. And remember, everyone is doing their research incognito. So, and of course, Scott, as you know, I can expand a whole bunch more on that entire strategy, but that's kind of an overview of what we have found out there to work.
well, I think a lot of people go, okay, I've got to do posts on LinkedIn. I don't know how. I don't know how to get started. It feels daunting. It's like they're probably so overwhelmed they don't even know where to start. Do you have a couple of tips around that?
I do. It's very interesting you say that, Scott, because I've always been a sales producer out there. And I'm intrigued with behaviors, psychological behaviors. I'm intrigued with process. And over the last few years, I've been very, very interested in automation and AI. Um, and I was always an early adopter to that. And what I can tell you is once you figure out your approach and you build out your strategy, there's lots of really great automation tools with a sprinkle of AI tied into it. And you can really literally be very strategic in your approach. The challenge that people have or maybe don't have is time.
Mm,
They're busy. You also have people that don't want to mess with jumping onto LinkedIn and spend the time to have to do all the follow-ups. It's just there's other things they'd rather do. But I'm happy to share that there's lots of automation tools out there that can help you save time. And basically, you can integrate your strategy into some different AI tools, which I've showed you a few of them. Um, and if you do it the right way, it could really scale your process. And
mm,
that's the key is understanding what your approach should be and determining if you want to use a little bit of AI tools that are out there or automation tools that are out there to help you scale your process. Wouldn't it be nice not to spend 10 to 12 hours a week knowing that you need a prospect, but building it one time out and letting it happen automatically for you on the
mm,
back end? That's what I talk about in these Vistage workshops that I consist of, and for yours as well. It's let's build this thing out and let's automate this, and let's leverage the power of LinkedIn to really scale. So lots of different great tools that are out there, and many more being built every single day that are out there. So it's kind of there's a lot out there.
mm. that kind of brings us to our third point that I wanted to dive into is the importance of consistency to leverage LinkedIn. Share some thoughts around consistency and how to leverage that.
Yeah, it goes back to behavior, Scott. Again, going back to just about every business professional out there, they have a LinkedIn presence in some capacity, and they're going to log in either every day or every other day or every week. And what they normally do is they're going to go check out somebody to go confirm them. What they don't realize is there's a lot of people searching them out as well, trying to get their information to try to make a determination of who this person is and do I want to further that relationship with them, possibly do business with them. If you're already dabbling inside of LinkedIn, in my opinion, you ought to have an approach that is better than everybody else out there because that's the opportunity of LinkedIn that I have figured out. There's so many people on there that are not strategically leveraging it to their advantage. They look like everybody else out there. And there's an opportunity to really um, rise above all that noise, which I've said a couple times. And what that means is in LinkedIn's algorithms, you're starting to show up in suggested profiles to key decision makers out there.
Mm.
If you're consistent in your process, the algorithm is going to put your social content feed in the key players' feeds, so they're seeing your stuff most often. There's an opportunity to leverage LinkedIn's algorithms to your advantage. And it just takes a little bit of strategy, and that will lead to the consistency side of things. LinkedIn is really about long term. It's nurturing relationships, it's brand awareness. I've said this many times. Many times, people tend to do business with people who they like and trust. LinkedIn is a terrific platform to establish that like and trust. If you can do that long term for LinkedIn, you're going to get, new business and further your relationships. That's just kind of how it works. Been doing it for quite a bit of time, and I know it works. Too many successful stories out there of those who I've helped get to that particular strategy and consistency.
Um, so one of my goals is communicating with CEOs and senior executives.
Yeah.
That's the audience that I'm focusing in on. And why would a CEO or senior executive want to improve their profile?
Well, first off, they'd want to improve because they are the leaders of the company.
Mm.
And that's where people are going to do the research to size up if they possibly want to do business with this company. LinkedIn's all about first impressions. And there might be some executives out there who haven't spent a lot of time on LinkedIn because they didn't think they needed to, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't apply to them. But what they don't realize is their blind spots. Everybody else is using LinkedIn more efficiently than them, and it matters to their audience. And if their audience is sizing up a company and their executives, and there's not a lot of substance there, guess what? They might move on to the next one that does stand out and is making a great first impression. So that's where I think it really, really matters is there's so many folks out there that haven't spent too much time on their LinkedIn presence. And the stuff that I talk about, they get to control the narrative of what they want people to see because, unbeknownst to them, people are checking them out. I call it cyber stalking.
Mm. Love it. Love it. One more topic. It wasn't one of the top three I mentioned at the beginning,
Mhm.
but I'd like to talk about hygiene on LinkedIn. And I'm going to be vulnerable and say I have been the worst at hygiene, meaning I have been saying yes to every LinkedIn connection that came my way.
Yep.
So much so, I think my number um, four or at the last presentation you did was hovering around 9,000.
Yeah.
And I'm going through a process of hygiene or deleting the people that aren't in my target audience. And I
Yeah.
think I'm going to get rid of like 2,500 LinkedIn connections, which before your chat I would have thought is counterintuitive to being productive. But take a moment and tell me why that's the case.
Yeah, that goes back to some of the approach and the strategy. Scott, maybe over your career, however long you've had a LinkedIn account, you've accumulated contacts into your network. And maybe over time, your business career has shifted. Like right now, it's pretty predominant on Vistage. Um, but in years past, in your previous life, maybe you accumulated contacts that at the time was pretty important to have in your network. I always recommend to do a purge or a refresh, maybe every 6 months or maybe every year, a couple of years. And if you think about it, Scott, out of your 9,000 some contacts, you're talking about 2,500 people to remove. That's almost a third of your network.
Mhm.
If you think about it, in the LinkedIn's algorithms, if you were to put a social post out there, it's trying to go through your network of like-minded folks. And if you've got a whole bunch of like-minded folks way down in your network, they may never see your post because the algorithm's trying to figure out this 2,500 non-essential folks to you, and it could be a wasted effort. So my suggestion is clean it up a little bit and maybe reappropriate your network by adding some more of those key folks that apply to you today, and let the algorithms work in your favor. Let the algorithms figure out, hey, when Scott puts something out, we need this current group of first degree connections to see it.
Mm.
If you got some of the non-essential folks that don't apply today, they're kind of in the way in your network. Um, Look, a lot of people say, hey, I've got 20,000 connections in my network. My challenge to them is, are they the best 20,000 that helps your brand out? And, I get a lot of folks kind of changing their mind, just like you, on that particular strategy and approach. So, look, you don't have to get rid of anybody. That's fine. You're just part of the noise out there is a problem with that. So,
Yep. Good. Well, I got to tell you, Gordon, these were great tips and tricks. Now, I realize people are watching here are going to want to know how to get a hold of you.
yeah.
So, what's the best way to get a hold of Gordon? Brainstorm some more, or come
Yeah.
speak, or figure out how to best use LinkedIn.
Yeah. Well, how about they jump on LinkedIn, look
Yep,
up Gordon Ho, um, and then just connect with me. And then if they want to put a personalized message, Sauce Scott's podcast or reference you, and I'm grateful for that introduction to your network out there, Scott. But that's it. It's that simple. And look. I've got some strategies that I can share. I'm always going to provide some nuggets to nudge someone in the right direction. And if I can help anybody, I'd be glad to do so. And either help someone or confirm they're on the right track at the minimum.
I love it. Gordon, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it. And again, two fantastic Vistage presentations. And I know you're out there helping a lot of people solve their LinkedIn questions and conundrums.
Thanks for having me today.
All the best.